There we go.
Oh, great. Okay. Sorry about
Third time
that.
lucky.
Okay.
So if we start, hello, my name is Yuvin Kim, and I'm a second year student at UCL studying education studies. So a great deal as to why I decided to study education and circles around my interest in sustainable development. I've realized that there is a great deal of emphasis on the role of students and youth in the discourse of building a sustainable future, and especially when discussing environmental issues. What I truly appreciate about the education degree at UCL is that it gives me the opportunity to personalize my learning. The course has allowed me to deepen my knowledge and interest in youth climate activism, apartheid in South Africa, and also the influence of community on youth and formal schools. The course is designed in a way that it can adapt to my interests rather than me adapting to the rigid criteria of the course. I will give a more concrete example later on in my presentation,
So it's interesting to hear Yuvin's ideas about her motivations for applying, because my motivations was that it's a very broad subject, and the degree looked to cover a lot of different aspects that I was interested in, but I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do with the career after, with the degree afterwards, what my future might look like, and I hope to kind of understand that on the program. But I didn't actually realize just how many possibilities there would be to develop that understanding of my interests until I got to the program itself. And so I want to talk a little bit about my experience with course adaptability and maybe share some things from a student perspective that might help kind of help you think a little bit more about how you're presenting your course just from a student's perspective. So I think it's really important to think about the cohort that might be coming onto your subject and your course and the different needs and wants of them, because as we've mentioned, Yuvin had an interest in sustainability and I have an interest in policy and international development, but we both ended up on the same degree, and one person might be interested in a certain type of employment that they can get from the subject, but one person might just really have an interest in a specific aspect of the subject. So thinking about how you can design learning for each student, but is a difficult one because there are so many different types of students that are probably going to be coming to your subject. But considering course adaptability and how much that course can change based on the needs of each student, and they can kind of design their own learning, I think is really important. And we're going to touch on that a bit more as well. But I just want you to keep in mind kind of how some of the small adjustments that you can make might have massive impacts on whether a student might feel like they can and should take a certain course. So yeah, thank you.
So following from Molly's presentation on the course design, I'm now going to give an example of a module that I particularly enjoyed and believed to have done so because it gave me the most room for personalization. So this module was called Living in a School Society. There are various features that I would actually like to talk about, but I just want to focus on how the assessment was designed and how it was communicated to us. So the assessment was divided into two parts. Firstly, it was the portfolio activities. They were done as a part of the seminar and followed a pass or fail criteria rather than a grading scheme. I think this made my classmates less anxious of presenting their ideas and really giving thought to their content instead of spending so much time on fixing their grammar, seeing that most of us are international students. And the second part of the assessment was an essay that weighed 100% towards the final grade. I believe that most of us have done very well because every portfolio activity during the seminars helped us develop our topic and argument, and especially understanding and being communicated what was expected of us when we were participating in the weekly portfolio activities allowed us to see the value in the work that we were doing. And also we were able to witness our improvements through the progression of the module. For example, my essay topic before I was refilled find. It was the post-apartheid education policy reform contribute to impoverished social outcomes in South Africa. Reading it now, I still have no idea what it means, but towards the end of the module, I had refined my topic to how could formal education in post-apartheid South Africa prompt unemployment and poverty in youth. Other than the high engagement that we had in our assessments, support and good grades as well, the most exciting part was witnessing how my interests translated into concrete academic work and how we were able to give feedback to one another and also answer questions that they might have about our research.
So if you're kind of thinking, okay, I really like some of these ideas, hopefully some of them you are thinking that, but you're thinking, okay, there are some limits in what I can do now because I understand there are limits in learning design, and a lot of the time learning is designed quite far in advance to the actual delivery. But I think something that's really useful, and I think Yuvin and I have both experienced, is the value of feedback and being able to give that feedback and be actively listened to by lecturers and people designing these courses. So on our course, we have multiple points during the module where we can give feedback, and small changes can be made maybe by the lecturers and the people delivering the course. But at the same time, there can also be kind of communication about why something might have been designed a certain way. And that communication can kind of reassure our learning and almost empower, I think, some students. And that goes the same for representatives being able to feed back on modules and really give students a chance to share what's working well and what could be better. And having teachers and lecturers actually in those rooms as well, and also spaces just for students to discuss amongst each other. And from that feedback, there's an example of where that feedback's worked and how changes have been made in an undergraduate research fellowship scheme that was created based on our feedback that Yuvin and I both were able to partake in over the summer, in which we were able to work one-to-one with an academic or a lecturer on an area of their research which really interested us. And so we were able to kind of craft our own learning design and our own interests outside of the restrictions of the course. Additionally, we have a changemaker scheme at UCL, which focuses quite heavily on learning design and having students independently create projects with students and staff kind of support to really focus on their learning and how they can contribute to learning design, which I think has been quite successful in many cases.
So we understand that it's challenging to implement everything that we just mentioned, but we just want to put forth some suggestions for best practice. Firstly is considering small things that could make a large impact. And secondly, leave space for exploration, supporting students in what they're interested in, and which will eventually motivate them to actually engage in their own work and their research. Thirdly, actively listening to students, and lastly, share expectations and reasons. So understanding what we as students expect from teachers, and also what we expect from, what students expect from their learning and courses, and reasons behind it would really motivate us to engage and succeed in our education.
I hope that's been helpful in some way to helping you think about learning design, and we really appreciate this opportunity to present. Thank you for listening, and we're happy to answer any questions in the chat, or we'll put our LinkedIn information in the chat as well. So if you want to ask later on, you can if you think of anything. Thank you.
Another great presentation. Thank you so much from both of you. It's so nice to see your enthusiasm and the points that you made there, I think, were so valuable, and I think everyone can kind of take some messages home there, and kind of something for food for thought, if you were, when we come to kind of look at designing more materials, or just have a quick glance over our modules just to make sure that, you know, see what we can change really. We do have time for one question, and Laurie Walden was first to the post. Laurie, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, Molly and Yuvin. That was really interesting. My question was, excuse me, about the pass-fail on the portfolios. Since they aren't marked, since 100% of the assessment is the essay, I wondered sort of how many people completed the portfolio, because we're seeing that in formative assessments in general, not as many students are completing them. They're just focusing on the one that's actually marked.
So what happened was, I think I missed a single portfolio activity during the 10 weeks. So in order to pass the module as a whole, you had to have at least 80% attendance on the portfolio. And to my knowledge, everyone has completed their portfolio. So if I think not just having the portfolio as like the single activity as a pass or fail, but having the whole 10-week activity as a pass or fail, I think really motivated us to do that. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are bang on time now, so I'd just like to say thank you again. You guys are so busy, and I don't know how you find time to do this. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been so great to have kind of the student voice again at this session. So thank you, both of you.
Thank you.